So this is our new book. It's called New Hope for Concussions, TBI and PTSD. TBI is traumatic brain injury. So this is a direct result of our clinic looking at hormones and other things that will get people's brains healed sooner. Who needs the book? It seems that we know, almost everybody we know knows somebody, a family member or a friend who's had a concussion and they aren't doing well. Typical concussions get better in 2 weeks to 4 weeks. If the person still has symptoms after that, they've got post-concussion syndrome. Why do you label it post-concussion syndrome? I think because you get to a stage when you don't know how to treat it and you just say, well, you got post-concussion syndrome, nobody can treat it, so you're never going to get better. I've heard too many cases, this is your new normal, and they aren't doing well. You'll never get better. And I think about the man that we saw, and his story is in the book, 8 years off work and we got him back in 6 weeks. So you think, why is there a limit on getting better from concussions? And the answer is there isn't. So there's so much bad information about concussions. And what we found is really complicated. Like, all due to the hormones and inflammation, because there's inflammation in the brain. It's like having a sliver in your hand. Unless you pull out the sliver, there'll be pus in your finger for the rest of your life. So I'm doing the hormones and inflammation. 99% of people with concussions get a visual processing problem. The eye chart is 1 out of 15 features of visual vision. There's 14 others. Like, there are people who keep backtracking 400 times on 100 words. That's fixable, and they don't know that. So I've got an architect now who can't read blueprints. That's fatal for his profession. That's fixable. We have a colleague that fixes the visual problems. The light sensitivity, I can't look on my computer because it's blinking. They don't realize it's blinking off and on 60 times a second. So they get that. They can't remember. When you see something, your eyes have seen it. Your brain has to process it. So if I threw my keys in the table, I saw it, but did the memory chip saying keys are in table, so the next day I can remember my keys. And if you've got a visual processing problem, that doesn't happen. That's fixable. So now I'm doing the hormones and inflammation. Another doctor is doing that. 98% of people get whiplash. Yeah, that makes sense, because you hit your head, you strain your neck. And one of the best people I know is also in Burlington, Dr. Blair Lamb, and he does the whiplash. He's better than everybody else I've ever seen. And then 30% of people get an audiology problem, ringing in the ears, noise sensitivity, balance, nausea. And we've got another doctor who fixes that, and that's post-concussion syndrome. Interestingly, neurologists don't do any of that. And I've had a lot of patients told by their neurologist, you're faking your symptoms, you're wasting your time, get out of my office. That's taking away hope. That's why this is New Hope. This is a totally new way of looking at concussions and brain injuries. And so who's it aimed at? It's aimed at pretty well everybody. If you've got a family member, or if you've got it, if you're not getting better, if you got kids playing sports, they often get concussions. People think you've got to be unconscious for a concussion. No, you don't. Most of them aren't. If you get a concussion, you can just go, oh, that's something, and next day you got a headache, you just had a concussion. One of my patients is in the military, and military is famous for concussions. He was firing anti-tank missiles. These rockets are going off his shoulder, and the shockwave is going like this, and his brain's rattling 30 times a day when he shot these things. The guy's just had 30 concussions. And if you have a concussion or a head injury, you're much more likely to get PTSD. 80% of people with PTSD have had previous head injuries. What's the PTSD? That's an emotional event that stresses your body so much, it's just like taking a kick in the head, and it has all the same symptoms and problems. And so that's not people faking things that they don't want to work. That's people that've got a definite problem. It's a hidden injury. If someone came in front of you and they had 2 broken legs, you would never say, you should run a mile a day for your health. He'd look at his broken legs and look at you and think, well, what are you thinking about? And he's not expected to be able to run that mile until those legs heal. But those legs will heal in 6 weeks. These are hidden injuries that nobody can see. Oh, an MRI will show the concussion. No, it doesn't. Typical people with concussions have no changes in MRI or CAT scan or ultrasound. So that's not going to do it. Doesn't mean things are not working right. It's like saying that car looks perfect. It could be missing an engine. You can't tell just by looking at it. And so there's so many different areas this affects lives. It affects relationships. Often men will get low testosterone from a concussion. Oh, that's sex and muscles. No, it's not. That's mood and energy. And men get really frustrated when they get low testosterone, and you lash out like a wounded animal. And 50% of the guys that we've seen with concussions have knocked down their hormones. And what happens? Divorce rates are 50% in those groups. And the women understand something's going on with their man. Men aren't as good. They aren't as introspective. looking at themselves and saying, oh, this could be from my head injury. No, I'm working too hard. And they think of all the other reasons. Men aren't as good at figuring this out. But we see all kinds of men with this problem. The good thing about first responders is they know they have a problem. Big rates of PTSD in the fire, EMS workers, and the police. And I've now treated over 300 police officers, and they've got a special section in our book called First Responders, and this is police officers and firemen and EMS workers and jail guards. Huge rates of PTSD. And what this basically says is these people are out there looking after us, they're risking their lives, and I've got special respect for them. And we see somebody in the clinic, here are some of the 100 police patches I have as thank yous from getting these people better. They're in a stressful line of work, and they're much more likely to get this. I said to one police officer, men don't talk about this. How come I'm seeing all of these police officers? And it was a really simple answer. He said, Doc, I'm now good. If my backup's not that good, I still die. And I work a lot with sports, and I thought, this is just the big sports club that they have, but they're playing for much bigger odds, and they can't lose. And so they'll talk to each other, and it saved their lives. I had one fireman that had PTSD. He was off the air, and we finally got him better with hormones, supplements, and he was completely better. And he's going back to work. And so the visit where we said, you're back to work, he was walking out, and I said, don't be afraid to tell your story. He turned around, tears are pouring down. Come on back, what's up? I called my best friend in the fire hall, and I said, you see that? We're working tomorrow, working together. After a year, I feel great. I'm looking forward to seeing you. We're going to go for a beer. Nothing for 10 seconds at the end of the line. This friend said, okay, I'll see you. I was going to hang myself tonight. I'll put it off. And that's how powerful a story is. And when you read this book, you're going to have hope now for people that have got this problem. We're not saying you're going to get a little bit better. One of the things I've learned through all of this is that the real person's inside. And no matter how damaged they are, it surprises me that if we knock away a lot of all the stuff that's smothering them, the real person emerges. And a lot of times they'll say, this is the real me finally, I feel really good. So it's not just trying to get you a little bit better, this is trying to get you back to the way you were before your concussions and your brain injuries. And that now looks doable for most people. So the book's aimed at everybody, but particularly if you know somebody that's suffering, they should not give up hope. Too many doctors have told them they're never going to get better. I don't believe that for a second anymore. Think about it, if they say you never get better, what does that mean? I know everything in medicine never advances. Not two true statements. So this is to give hope and also give guidance to where you can go to get help.